All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Farmer Tan Podcast. We're glad that you decided to climb back up in the cab with us and make a couple of rounds. You're going to want to stick around tonight. We're going to talk about what we got going on the farm and the ranch since the last time we visited with you. Probably talk about some back to school stuff as our boys are all getting ready to go back to school, or actually have started already. Probably going to talk a little bit about some old grain trucks and maybe some old vehicles we had. And we would like to encourage you to get a hold of us, right? Leave some comments on social media platforms, or you can email us at thefarmertanpodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you want to hear about. We're brand new at this sort of thing, and so we don't know if you want to hear us ramble about the old days, the current days, if you'd like a little structure, or what you even want to do. But we're getting ready to kick this thing off. Make sure you come right back. You got the chain tight, Jared?
I think so.
Alrighty, well then we're going to pin the throttle wide open and roll out of the clutch, boys. We are going to set sail on this podcast, and we are grateful that you decided to come and ride along with us. We have been getting a little feedback, and it's all been mostly good, so we appreciate that. And actually people have been saying they kind of like story time, so I think we are going to maybe just have an unscripted, off-the-cuff version of podcast tonight. We're just going to talk about whatever we feel like talking about.
Yeah, that works for me.
We do highly encourage class participation in this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to leave us a comment, you can certainly do that on our social media platforms. We are The Farmer Tan Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. You can also find us on YouTube, the Farmer Tan Podcast on YouTube, and you can comment on any of that stuff, or you can send us an email to thefarmertanpodcast@gmail.com. So a couple ways
Awesome
to get a hold of us there. Send a comment. We might read it on the air, and if we do, you might get a hat or a sticker if we ever actually make hats or stickers.
So that's right. I could hand draw for you.
Yeah, we'll send you a stick man with a John Deere cap
on a piece of duct tape.
Yeah. And you can wear that proudly. So anyway, feel free to play along with this. And don't forget the. That is very important. Yes. If you just do Farmer Tan, you get all sorts of other stuff. Maybe it is if King James version.
Oh, there we go.
The Farmer Tan Podcast. That's probably with 2 E's, though.
Well, I don't know. If you're the Ohio State, it's spelled the, so.
Well, that is true. And they're not in the Midwest. Just so we're clear on that. We've got some family listening, I think, to this podcast who there's a lot of teachers in that family.
Mm.
And so for all of the, Jared and I are buddies, and that is about as far as it goes. There is no relationship there as far as being related to each other.
Nope.
We're just friends, but we share an uncanny amount of kinfolk.
Yeah, it's kind of common in this part of the state. It seems like it's not quite 6 degrees of separation. It's probably 2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah. Is that advanced timing or? Yeah, it's advanced. We'll leave it at that. It's not the other one. But some of my wife's family and cousins and various things also happen to be some of Jared's family and cousins and various things. And
shout out to the Clarks.
Yeah, and a bunch of them were school teachers, and so for all the Clark school teachers who may be listening, we are sorry. Our grammar are not good sometimes.
Are not good, yeah. But, yeah, you probably figured that out by now, though.
Yeah, probably. So, update since the last podcast. We have gotten a fair amount of farming done. Apparently, I cannot quit saying I am trying. I'm making a tally on the sheet here every time I say it, and well, there we go.
There we go.
There's another one.
You avoided one there.
We'll add another mark. Got a lot of farming done. We went out and swathed some cane down a week ago Saturday because the weatherman said it was going to be 125 degrees. It was not going to rain till Thursday night. So we cut it down on Saturday. And on Tuesday, we got like a 1,500 shower. And that kind of messed up the entire drying process. And then Wednesday night, it was about a day from baling. I could almost convince myself that I could bale and be okay. And deep down in my heart, I knew it was not okay.
Yep.
And so
been there.
The best decision I made was I walked away from that field. And then it rained Wednesday night, and it's been raining ever since.
Yeah, thankfully.
Thankfully. Right.
Well, thankfully, I mean, your case, I mean, you got to be quiet about your disappointment.
Just make the checks out to the Farmer Tan podcast and send those my way. So yeah, a little rain. So we haven't got much haying done. Got some haying cut, nothing wrapped up. Working on preconditioning some calves actually tomorrow. So got a few things going on there on the farm side, but really all in all, I guess not too bad a shape probably.
Yeah, it really cooled down. Kind of that stretch. I mean, a lot of days foggy till noon, mid 60s till afternoon. I mean, complete turnaround from what we were talking about last time.
It is. I don't know. Are you familiar? Kid Rock had a song where he was singing about it had been 3 days since he'd seen the sunshine. And
oh, yeah. Yep.
He's got nothing on us. It's been like 10 days.
Yeah.
Today was the first day, maybe yesterday, where it was actually pretty sunny most of the day.
Pretty sunny all day. Yeah. No, it was just a complete 180, 95, sunny, windy to fog, no wind, high humidity, real sticky.
Yeah.
I mean, 65 feeling like 80.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was. And so, 65-degree weather is great Jake weather. Really cloudy and overcast was fine too.
Yeah.
I actually did not mind that a bit. It didn't cure much hay or anything like that, but we'll live.
Yeah, no, I didn't get to enjoy a lot of the cool weather. We were doing silage through that hot stretch, shopping all the hail corn that I talked about last time.
Did you get that all done?
We did. Got a fair amount done ahead of time. It was the first cutting of the year for the crew, so naturally finding out all the bugs you usually find when you pull equipment out after not using it for 10 months.
Had a weak U-joint somewhere?
Yeah, pretty much. Blown hoses, gearbox, all that good stuff. Had a truck tip over in the pit and kind of just, it was a little bit rough going, but we got her done. But then on the 8th, was heading home, getting the feed wagon. That's kind of the first cool day, and actually had an accident on the way home. So most of those cool days I spent in the hospital, 3 broken ribs and a punctured lung. So if it sounds like I'm walking uphill while I'm talking, that's kind of why. I just haven't quite gotten my lungs back.
Yeah. Guy's got a hole in his lung, so you got to give him a little break. But
yeah, we mean leave comments. Don't make fun of me.
Yeah, not this time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give me a hard time most of the time.
Yeah,
I'll still take it.
Yeah, I too am out of breath. It has nothing to do with anything other than overindulgence on Little Debbie snacks.
It's a sympathetic pain.
Yeah, sympathetic. Right. I'm wheezing because of sympathy pains. But yeah, well, we are certainly grateful that all things considered, you are alive and well for sure. Certainly a blessing, and God definitely had his hand on you in that.
He sure did. I mean, the way the pickup looks, I'm not exactly sure how I made it out. With these injuries is the best case scenario, honestly. I think 9 times out of 10 that accident's going to paralyze or kill somebody. So it was pretty nasty. Kind of hit a semi broadside. I was coming over an interchange on the interstate. He pulled out in front of me, blocked traffic. So I kind of hit him broadside in the trailer, and that feed wagon was enough weight going downhill off the interchange and pretty much scrunched it up. So, Karen is my pickup, my old 94 F-350. She's a complete goner. So
yeah. Yep. Looks kind of like, well, that's bad.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of a frame's twisted up 2 different ways, and this cab smashed in. I mean, there's about the way I was laying is the only way you can lay in that pickup and not be severely injured. So
yeah,
definitely was being looked out for, and healing well though. So
yeah,
all things considered, it was good, but yeah, definitely something you come across, hopefully never in your life, but
yeah. I will say, if you ever need to work on the transfer case, it'll be easy to get to. The picture I saw had the transfer case laying in the back of the pickup.
Yeah, so. It did. Yeah. And I mean, they tightened it up right before I left to go get the feed wagon. So I'm glad that was tight before it completely got busted off.
Yeah.
And got a new starter put on it. It was at the shop. So brand new starter, drove 20 miles and no longer needed. So
Kablooey.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Jared did not want to dwell on that, but did just kind of want to bring it to your attention, and we certainly all praise to God for getting you through that safely. Walked in under your own power.
Yeah.
I mean, heel toe, no problem.
Yep.
And we were just certainly glad for that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Same here. I said healing's going better, and I mean, it could have been should have been a lot worse. So definitely God was looking out for me there.
For sure. Well, when you were laid up, probably didn't have much of a chance. Did you get a chance to watch much Summer Olympics here?
That's the only time I watched Summer Olympics. The hospital TV didn't have a whole lot of channels, and that was kind of the thing that was on. So I tried it and did get some watched, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time. Blessed with great friends and family, had a lot of visitors there, so spent most of my time trying to talk to them, trying not to laugh, and trying not to cough.
Right.
Certainly not sneeze.
Right. That's what I told you that day. I felt bad because I said something that must have been funny and kind of trying not to laugh about it. And I'm not funny on purpose. It just comes naturally. So,
it did my heart good. So.
Well, we're certainly glad you're here. Somebody had left a comment actually that said we were fun to listen to, easy to listen to, and that was probably referencing you. So I'm glad that you made it back. Otherwise, we probably would be no fun or not interesting.
No, that's not true at all. So,
well, we did watch a little Summer Olympics. Pretty big fan of that in our house, I guess. And there is a lot of stuff that you would not assume is Olympic activity, right? So break dancing and that sort of thing. My oldest really enjoyed that. So that was good. I don't know if that is like gymnastics for gangsters or
I mean, of course, the one that went viral is the Australian.
Right? The kangaroo.
Yeah. I mean, there's very few Olympic sports I look at and then I'm like, you know what, I think I can do that. I mean, there's just such specialized athletes. But watching that, I'm like, I think I stand a chance.
Yes.
I think I could do that.
You know, the one that I think I could do that just deep down, if I'm going to be honest, I know I can't do, and it is a page right out of the intramural sports catalog, but it's handball.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you guys have had a chance to watch any handball. That is the most crazy sport, but I super got into that.
I've never seen it, but I hear it's a good time.
Well, it looks all right. So it looks like a guy who really sort of wanted to play basketball but couldn't dribble, and then he kind of wanted to play soccer but like kicking the ball around was stupid, and so he writes up this game. Anyway, it was fantastic. I watched that during the duration of the Olympics. Anytime I could find it on, men's, women's, didn't matter. Handball. The whole time I'm like, I could get 7 buddies and we could totally play this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's something your PE teacher drew up in junior high. But it looked like so much fun and intense. I mean, I don't know. If you like the NBA, that's great. Not talking trash about that or anything, but they could really cancel the NBA and just have professional handball. And oh yeah, I'd be all over that. So
I'd say the other thing that stood out, and I probably saw this more through social media than actually live on TV, the women's rugby. That I know her last name's Maher. I'm going to mess up her first name.
Yeah.
But my goodness, I mean, that looks like Joel Makovica back in the day. I mean, just taking souls on her way to the score. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you would have to be tough.
Oh, man. That was fun to watch.
And, we're pretty worried about head-to-head hits and football, right?
So yeah.
Maybe take the helmet off. You'd be more careful about where you put your head.
I've always said that. I mean, you put a good helmet on, you just tend to use your head more because it don't hurt.
You're going to run downhill.
Yeah, I mean, so, yeah, they don't see them fretting about concussions.
No, not even a little bit. You know who else wasn't worried about that? Kenny Bell that one time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I mean, we may have lost that game 70-10, but that was a moral victory right there.
Yeah.
Yes. Made a rule after that.
Anytime they name a rule after you, that's a monster hit.
That was the end of crackback blocking in college football. It was so vicious.
That was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
I did see a deal on some of our linemen from back in the glory days, and they just looked like the type of dudes that show up and stack hay for you.
Oh, yeah.
They looked like farm boys, whether they actually were or not, but they were, your farm boy, your small town kid who just had a big body and a bigger heart, and he was going to go out there and hurt somebody.
I mean, upper 200 pounds with 6-packs.
Right.
And I just tell you, a good friend of mine say they come from good stock. I mean, that's a God-given genetic build. You can't lift your way into that body, but they lifted. But man, you just see them guys pulling and just obliterating
And,
people.
and they wanted to hit somebody.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot of big guys end up being teddy bears, and you
Oh,
see
yeah.
that a lot. Kind of, this is way in high school. Or a lot of our linemen were pretty passive, kind of lazy, but no, these guys were kind of headhunters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, every play was personal.
Oh, yeah.
And it did not matter if the run was coming your way or not. It was your personal mission to lay out a guy or two.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing the clips of Warren Sapp on his knees, on a knee on the field, just sucking oxygen. And I don't remember what quarter that was. It wasn't even that late in the game.
Such great memories.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully Coach Matt will make Husker football great again.
Every offseason, I tell myself, don't get hyped for the offseason. And I don't know a team that wins the offseason more than Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Maybe Notre Dame.
That might be. Dallas Cowboys, another team I'm a fan of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They always win the offseason, never do anything, haven't been relevant in 30 years. But
yeah,
I mean, listen to anytime Coach Rule talks. I heard him after the Saturday open practice kind of lecturing the team like, hey, when people show up, you guys stop doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's what loses games.
Yep.
So I was glad to hear that we've lost a lot of close games.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm not drinking the undefeated Kool-Aid or anything.
Well, not undefeated, but I mean,
let's show up and hit somebody in the mouth.
Yeah, let's be a team no one wants to play.
Yep.
Let's maybe sniff the playoffs. Now it's at 12 teams, or sniff contention for Big Ten. I mean, certainly make a bowl game.
Let's get a new rule written about us.
That's exactly. Yes.
So yeah,
good.
Yeah. It's kind of that time of year. Things are sort of changing. I mean, it sort of feels like summer again. Well, today here, I guess a little bit, but kids headed back to school, so
yeah,
we got that going on. I don't know. They got a back to school night here in Gothenburg where we're at, and so take the boys and they get to find their classroom, meet their teacher, find their locker, do all that kind of thing, run around in the gym and pick up some free stuff from different booths or whatever. And I don't remember any of that when we were kids.
No, but I mean, it's a great idea.
I think so.
I certainly put my oldest at ease. He's heading to first grade, but for sure when he's in kindergarten last year, getting to meet his teacher, finding all that stuff, getting kind of used to it ahead of time.
Yeah.
But boy, there's a lot of people and not a lot of space.
Yeah.
At night.
A lot. And I think my mom just put me on the bus with a note pinned to my shirt.
Yeah.
And said good luck.
I know. I mean, is there any bigger dichotomy of first day of school from when you're a kid to when you're a parent?
Well, right.
I mean, yeah, it's just this kid. The whole month of August, you're kind of in mourning because you knew what was coming in a couple weeks.
Right.
As a parent, you're just like, boy, this is going to free up a lot of my time.
It might be time.
It might be time.
And I certainly love my boys. I love having them around.
Yeah.
They are pretty handy.
Yep.
And that sort of thing. And now all of a sudden they got to go back to school. And that kind of makes me sad a little. But my house needs structure, and the school year supplies a little structure.
Yeah, it does. Gets you on a routine.
We have to eat supper closer to regular supper time.
Right.
Bedtime. We try to eat supper maybe, and we eat supper. We don't eat dinner.
Exactly right. It's not called the last dinner.
It is not called the last dinner. Last supper is biblical.
It's biblical. So
we eat breakfast.
You heathen out there calling it dinner.
Yeah, terrible. We eat breakfast. We eat lunch. We eat supper. We eat dinner on Sundays and holidays. Sunday dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner. Still middle meal of the day, though.
Yeah, it is.
It is the middle meal. But boy, sometimes in the summer we're eating supper at like 8 or 9 o'clock or sometime like that.
Yep.
And then, you hate to send the boys to bed just right after supper.
Because usually you get in, and that's when you start making supper. It's not like you're watching TV for 2 hours and then decide to make that's just kind of when you get in for the day.
Right. So it is nice to kind of have that back and be able to, I don't know, just be able to have that little bit, okay, set time, got to go to bed. So
got to wake up.
You got to get up at a certain time. So you got to eat some breakfast. You got to take a shower.
Yep.
I doubt if our listener base has much for preteens and early teens, but if you are listening, deodorant is not an option anymore. It is a requirement.
Yeah.
Every day. Maybe multiple times, right?
Maybe.
Nobody's going to kick you out of the classroom for over deodorizing.
For smelling good.
unless it's Axe body spray.
Yeah.
And you're going at it like you're
There's a
fogging
lot of
flies.
millennial girls out there with some traumatic Axe experience.
I think so.
I mean, those commercials were very misleading.
And a lot of that has not changed. My youngest, while he is perfectly fine to be completely dirty, now his is Old Spice, which they have migrated to the body spray as well. It's not just for grandpas anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But he will go at that like he's fogging for mosquitoes.
Oh, man.
And, you know, I mean, the pickup does smell decent. So I guess that's good.
I don't know if your boys are this way or not, but mine were getting to a point they kind of needed some time apart. Like, school's going to provide some of that. They were kind of getting on each other's nerves, mostly the younger on the older. So I think just little friendly time apart would make things. It was getting a little cantankerous there for a little bit.
It's probably time.
Yeah.
We noticed our boys get along really well. Tempers were just a little shortish.
Yeah, I'd say the same.
Our
boys play really well together.
Yeah.
Just kind of last couple of weeks
we were maybe a little quick to snap back.
Yep.
So that's good. But I don't know. School bus technology has come a fair distance, right, since we were in school. So
I'm curious to hear what your route bus was growing up.
Oh man, so and it was a true straight on bus. And somebody will say something like, "Hey, Jake, did you get that quote figured up for me on that feed that I asked you about there Monday?" And nope, I completely spaced that off. But I can tell you the first bus I rode was 80B. 80-B.
80-B.
Yep. So our school system, our school district, when they bought new buses, the bus number was the year the bus was bought. And then if they bought two buses that year, it'd been, because there was an 80A.
Okay.
And then an 80B. So those were those two buses. My bus, I think it was a Chevrolet chassis, gas burner, automatic transmission.
Okay.
Had orange seats, like those like 80s orange seats in that bad dog. And yeah, I remember hopping on that thing, and it was probably 127 degrees inside.
Oh, man,
it was like sitting in a cockpit of a stock car at the 4th of July race in Daytona. I mean, hot, miserably hot. And bus run good though. Every once in a while, if you stabbed the brakes too hard, she'd kill it completely, and had to kick it in neutral and fire it up. But that is where I learned how to talk on the CB.
Oh, nice.
We had radios, in all the buses, and the bus barn would talk. And so they'd call it, bus barn to 87B, come on back. Oh, this is 87B or 80B, go ahead. Oh, Jake ain't riding today. And just constantly it was over and over that. I was full-blown CB ready by the time I could, talk on one. But after that, so we rode that bus for quite a while. And then we upgraded to, I don't know, like it was late 80s, early 90s. And it had a radio.
Oh, nice.
Like not dash mount, like bus driver.
Oh, okay.
Like screwed it in on their own time.
Yeah.
I mean, speakers in the roof, radio.
Oh.
And boy, we thought we were something else. And so, like Restless Heart and Black Hawk will always have a special place in my heart, because we played the local country radio station, and them and Little Texas, and oh boy, whoever all else was big. Garth, I think, was getting big by then. George Strait.
No, Brooks and Dunn.
Yeah. So that was our school bus experience.
Yeah, ours was. I might have to have you help me out here, because I don't know my Chevy models real well. It was a Suburban.
Oh.
But it was kind of metal body, had the push button door latches. So had that been late 80s?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so yep, Suburban, vinyl floors, cloth seats. I mean, that thing, it was a tank.
Nice.
And that's what we used, and we needed it for county roads. And yeah, the radio in it, I can't quite remember if it had a cassette tape or how we did that. But we had a friend that brought a Shania Twain, I'm pretty sure, cassette tape, and we just listened to that thing over and over. I still know every Shania song pretty well.
Shanae fan from way back.
Yeah. I don't know a guy, any boy in that time frame that did not have a crush on Shania.
Yeah, that's probably some truth to that.
Yeah, but I mean, then all the shenanigans that went on bus rides.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah, it was good times.
I can't remember if we talked about it on here or if I was talking about it with somebody else, but we had, and so this was very short-lived because I only rode the bus to junior high for a little bit before I was old enough to drive. But when we got to junior high, we got our own lunch cards, and they were a white plastic card, credit card size, just like credit card, had our name and a barcode, and when you went through the lunch line, you scanned it, and that's how it charged you for lunch. And by the time we were in junior high, they thought we were handy enough, responsible enough that we could manage our own lunch cards, which they were wrong.
They were wrong.
But what they were excellent, so old drafty bus, it would frost up the windows on the glass, on the inside, and so we would take our lunch cards and scrape them off, and you'd get this pile of frost, and then you could rear back on that lunch card and let it fly, and you could shoot that clear to the front of the bus, or if your buddy was sitting in front of you and he wasn't paying attention, you'd pull it back and stick it right behind his ear, and then let it rip, and it'd snap him in the ear, and then bus driver would have to holler at everybody. But so yeah, you probably had AC then in that old Bourbon.
Oh no, his windows down for sure,
like everybody else
down dirt roads. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't even know if it got that warm in the winter, to be honest with you. And that thing had rattling doors. It was. I mean, I think it's still out in the community somewhere. It's still going somehow.
Oh yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah, but I mean, there's just kind of armrests were all broken, and we used to kind of use them to launch Legos back to the back of the bus.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because you had to.
Well, I mean, how are you going to pass the time the whole 10 minutes it takes to get to town?
Right.
Can't sit still that long.
So we got on the bus at 7:05.
Oh, nice.
And we'd get to school about 8:15. So we had a fairly lengthy bus ride.
We were pretty fortunate. We were last picked up, first dropped off on our bus route.
So that's handy.
Oh, it was terribly handy.
Yeah. Huh. Yep, I suppose. They do not make stuff like they used to make stuff.
No.
And everybody says that like they're reminiscent of how good stuff used to be. But I would like to point out that not everything was that great.
Yeah, that's fair.
And there's a reason why they need to not make some of that.
Yeah, not the safe. I'm pretty sure seatbelts were not always on.
No.
And a lot of them were just lap belts in that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I don't know when they changed this, but I remember as a kid growing up forever, the back seats were just lap belts in the family grocery getter or whatever,
If the buckle didn't fall underneath the seat.
Yeah. I mean, there was no full-blown back seat belt.
No.
And, yeah, that was kind of crazy. But I started thinking about that. So my mom and dad, and boy, I was going to check and see. I don't know what year this thing would have been. They had an Oldsmobile Regency 98.
Okay.
And so think probably mid to late 80s.
Those are ones outlawed in demo derbies? Because they're so big.
Those are Chrysler Imperials.
Okay.
But they were big like that. They were big like a Cadillac.
I was going to say, I thought they're pretty similar.
Yeah, big like a Cadillac. They were a luxury style car.
Nice.
They had big overstuffed seats, and it's pretty nice. This one had like the wire spoke wheels on it, and it had the back fender skirts.
Yeah.
So if any of you are younger, and I don't know, side note, but I was looking at the demographics, and actually we are super popular with the 35 to 45 crowd.
It makes sense.
It does, right?
Yeah.
So maybe some of you do remember this. But if you're younger and you don't remember it had back fender skirts. And so instead of having this humongous wheel well like the pickups do now that you couldn't possibly fill with a normal sized tire, it actually covered up about half of the back wheel well. So you could only see like the bottom half.
That'd be fun to change tires.
I would think. And I was thinking of that today. I was trying to remember. I remember watching Dad change a tire on that, and somehow you pop those skirts, you could pop them off.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know how that'll work, but it was sort of a navy blue color, white vinyl top on it.
Oh, nice.
And it had the big ledge in the back window, like big enough you could lay up there.
You can lay it there, yeah.
Right? Which only worked for a little bit till Mom looked in the mirror and like, get out of that back window. But yeah, and I know another podcast you and I both listen to, they joke on there all the time about the ashtrays. But when they were joking about it, I started laughing because you ain't kidding. Like, there was enough seatbelts in there for 6 people. 3 in the front, 3 in the, because front bench, back bench, 6 people, 18 ashtrays. I don't know how many people you could smoke with both hands and still have
it's like that was the optional feature in the day. It's like now
Yeah.
do you want heated seats, nicer display?
Yeah.
Back then it's like here's our base model and here's our higher trim with more ashtrays,
With more ashtrays.
and here's our Elite with even more ashtrays.
Right. And so we didn't smoke, because we were 5.
Yeah.
But nobody else in our family smoked either, and so that's where gum wrappers went.
Oh yeah,
and
change.
Yeah, sucker sticks,
Yeah.
And all that in the back seat.
No
and
cup holders.
None.
Plenty of ashtrays.
0 cup holders.
Yeah.
Yep. 0. You could smoke all day. Could not.
You're supposed to smoke your meals and not eat in the car.
I think. Well, that is a good rule. No eating in the car.
Yeah.
I
I don't follow it, but it's a good rule.
We don't either. We did when we were younger, and we need to re-implement that. But anyway, so this car, it was a diesel.
Yeah.
It was.
I was wondering that.
Yes, and why I say not everything was great. It was Chevy's diesel, and I think it was like a 5.7.
Okay.
It was basically their 350, and they warmed it over and they made it run on diesel, and it was a miserable failure.
No turbo, I'm sure.
Nope, naturally aspirated.
Yep.
No water separator.
Interesting.
So, I mean, it had injector problems. I think they were pretty, and they put some in some pickups. I think there were some half-ton pickups with those. Well, maybe even some 3/4-ton pickups with those, I suppose. I looked it up the other day, the specs on it. I don't remember now. They were like 108 horse and like 200 pounds of torque.
Yeah.
And that was like flywheel.
Oh, I know.
I mean, the most gutless. All right, so we're going to town, and we live 10 miles north of Fairbury down Highway 15. And Mom would start easing over, and you were trying to look to see, somebody just pulled out of the truck stop in town. Like, we've only got 7 miles. We're never going to get around this car, so you'd have to pull back in, right? And Mom would start fading back, and she'd fade back and back because you knew where the hills were. I mean, we drove that road all the time, had it memorized. You knew where you could see real well. So you'd fade back, and man, then she'd stand in the throttle on that thing and timed it out so you caught that car right at the top of the hill or right where you knew you could see, and you'd fade over, and if there was nobody coming, man, she'd leave that thing planted, And I mean, finally about, I don't know, 65 or 70 mile an hour, it seemed like it would run. But below that, I mean, a dog. Just
no
a
acceleration, dog. I'm sure.
No.
It probably sounded so cool.
It's
at idle. I've heard an Oldsmobile at idle. I'm just like,
that
sounds nice.
They did kind of sound neat.
Yeah.
Of course, as a kid, it was embarrassing because Mom would be in the pickup lane at school or pick you up at a buddy's house, and it.
Yeah,
and those, if you remember, if you're old enough to remember back, these were not, the whomp pew diesels like we have today.
Oh no!
I mean, they rattled and they clacked.
Yep.
And, part of Chevy's problem on that was I think the bottom ends were weak. They didn't do any new head bolts. Like they used 350 head bolts, and so they were forever. They'd stretch head bolts and they'd push gaskets out and then they'd burn coolant. It was just the most miserable thing. But the car looked cool.
I was gonna say, yeah, and then Ford 7.3 before they put, the IDIs before the turbos.
We had one of
those things idle and sound so tough, and then you try to do anything with them, and you're like, boy, this is just it's like that guy that talks a big game and then just never follows it up,
Yes. Oh yeah. So my father-in-law had one of those too when we first came out here and started farming, and like you put 2 anhydrous tanks behind that.
Oh yeah.
And it only went about as fast as you should pull anhydrous tanks, but it took everything it had to.
I mean, below 40 degrees, kind of forget about it.
Oh, well, and so I remember, that car was that way. It had glow plugs.
Oh, yeah.
And so you walked a fine line because they did not like to idle. Like if they sat there and idled, I don't know if they carboned up or if they had an injector problem. It was not good on them. But it's cold. It's in the wintertime. We're ready for church. They'd send one of the kids out to start the car so it'd warm up a little bit. So you'd kick the key on, and it'd say, wait to start. So you'd sit there, and then light would go out, and you'd fire it. To their credit, it actually usually fired pretty well, but it had the fuel fill behind the back license plate.
No kidding.
Yeah. So Mom would pull that thing right in the lane with all the trucks at the truck stop, and we'd fuel that thing up.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. It was, I don't know. They don't make them like that anymore, and there's probably a reason. But a lot of improvements.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember, thinking how cool the Chevelles, how cool that would be.
Yeah.
And my mom said that was their school car up until her brothers wrecked it before she could get it. And then I heard my granddad say here just recently, is like, well, if you got 60 to 70,000 miles out of some of those cars in the 60s, that was pretty good. I'm like, boy, that's just kind of getting stuff broke in now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, as much as you want to kind of complain about all the electronics and cost and all that, I mean, I expect to get 200,000 out of vehicles now with proper maintenance.
Sure.
So just, yeah, that's how memories work. You only remember the good. Yeah, that's just what you focus on. I think that's kind of the way the Lord designed it. So, I mean,
yeah, it's easy to, boy, I kind of miss, whatever, till you really start thinking about it. And I don't know if it was all that great. But
yep.
You're talking about miles, and I won't call the guy out on the off chance that he is listening to this, but if you are, hey, Kent, what's up? And but a fella, local guy here in town, and he does a ton of hoof trimming and that kind of thing. And so like dairies, bulls, show cattle, anything high priced, like if they end up with a hoof abscess and they need
watch a lot of those videos on TikTok.
Yep, he'll block them, he'll trim hooves, he treats that and does a phenomenal job. And a really meticulous guy beyond that. And actually, fun fact, he grew up right close to my hometown.
Okay.
And did not know that until I moved out here and got to talking to him. But anyhow, super great guy, super meticulous, travels a ton. He pulls a trailer with him. I think he takes his own table, and everything to lay critters down so he can work on them and that sort of thing and whatever all tools and other things he has. And so he had a Chevy Dually, Duramax. He was in the other day driving a new one, new to him. I don't know that it was brand new, different one. He said, hey, trade pickups? He said, yeah. He said, I had 400 and now the number escapes me, but really anything after even 400.
Yeah, major point.
I almost thought he said 445,000.
I know.
But I know it was over 400. And I thought, my word. Now, to his credit, he takes super good care of stuff. And if there's a problem, he fixes it, and that sort of thing. I have a tendency, if it's not rattling or banging too loud, we just, we keep in it and keep driving it. But he takes good, but that is a lot of miles on a pickup truck.
That's extraordinary, really.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was kind of impressive, but vehicles by the same token, they're comfortable enough to drive now that you'd be willing to drive one 400,000 miles.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I've also heard is not too long ago, really. You took a trip across 5 states. Right now, you don't think about it. You jump in your good vehicle and you just take off. Where back then it was kind of like you're kind of rolling the dice.
Yeah.
You took it to the shop before you made that trip. You had plenty of backup plans. You kept oil. You kept coolant on hand and some tools. Like this was maybe we're gonna make it fine. Maybe we won't.
Yeah.
Right now, how many people drive cross country?
Sure.
That don't even know an engine from a trunk. So.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that. So when my wife and I got married, she had a Chevy Cavalier.
Yeah, those are nice.
2-door, 5-speed, had the monster like pavement shredding 4-cylinder in it.
Oh yeah.
And when we were going on our honeymoon, we were going to Corpus Christi, Texas, and we had decided we'd like to travel. We like to drive. And we wanted to do what we wanted to do along the way. Like that was the final destination, but really the whole trip was the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to drive, and we took that Cavalier all the way to Corpus Christi and back. And I remember about a week before the wedding, I had it in the shop and changed oil, dropped oil in it, new oil, new filters, coolant, the whole nine. And like you said, grabbed an extra quart of oil and threw it in the trunk. Grabbed an extra thing of coolant, made sure the spare, which I was going to say, like most things have a donut, but the donuts were the same size as a regular tire. Like it had a full-size spare, right? But made sure it was gassed up, and ready to go. And just, come on, baby, like don't leave us.
Probably didn't even have a jack in it because they knew you could just lift it up with one hand and just throw a tire on and off. Yeah.
Aaron just picked it up while
Did
I
you
changed the tire, But it was... I was not apprehensive because honestly, that little car never let us down. But that was as far as I had ever driven in one shot anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I hope it gets us there and back. Yeah, no problem. Like, what is it, 20 hours or something? 18 or 20 hours from here down there. And yeah, made the trip down, trip back, didn't break a sweat. We just got home, dropped the oil in it again, and away we went. But it's interesting because that was a car with a 5-speed.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't even buy a pickup with a 5-speed.
No,
some of us still like to shift.
I know. It's good theft device, if nothing else. So
right.
Yeah, I do enjoy that. I mean, automatics are pretty handy for some things, but
they are.
I mean, it's just manuals are a lot of fun.
They are.
Yeah, and I mean, you get in the hills. I think I know more than the computer and the transmission.
Yep.
When to shift. So I do appreciate a good manual, but yeah, you're right, Ken. It's not even an option in pickups anymore.
We've got
not a lot of trucks either.
No.
Yeah.
You're right, and I've got a thought on that too. But what's interesting is, so we call it the Deuce. It's a Bronco 2. It's
that thing's sweet.
It's a mid-'80s Bronco 2, and we bought it from a kid who was making a river rat out of it. So it's got big tall swampers on it. He cut the back out, and it's pretty cool. But it's a 5-speed. It's barely a beater with a heater, but we've got to keep it around so we can teach our boys how to drive a manual transmission. Because so when I was growing up, and it's interesting, I think we talked in the last podcast, we grew up on good deals, right?
Exactly.
Dad was all about good deals, and rightfully so. And so he brought home, we called it the little black pickup because it was a little black pickup, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, you named yours Karen, we named ours just the description of what it physically was.
Exactly. Well, I'll go on the side note why it was called Karen. This pickup Ford had this color in the 90s. It's kind of a blue, kind of a green.
Yeah.
I like really one or another. So when we bought this pickup, we didn't really know what to call it because our boys were like, well, they're getting to that age where they're going to identify colors.
Is it the green pickup?
Yeah.
Is it the blue pickup?
Yeah. So we kind of struggled for a little bit, and we bought it from some neighbors. Their names are Keith and Sharon Portenier, and so we called it Portenier's pickup for a while. Well, that was kind of a mouthful.
Right.
So we're thinking on it one day, just mindless thinking. So I combined their first names, Keith and Sharon. That's how I got Karen.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a joke, but then it kind of stuck. So I'm not really one of those people that names their vehicles names. That's the only vehicle I've ever called by a name. But it became infamous, mostly because the exhaust system was so darn loud.
Yeah, and that you can't not describe this to the listeners at home.
No, they can't describe it. I don't think I'd even try imitating it. Basically, I cut the catalytic converters off of it. I thought I'd help the power. Did a little bit, but turns out that pickup just didn't have any. Yeah. So few exhaust fixes, and then I kind of ended up running the stack up the back of the cab. It had a rain flap on the top, and I mean, backfire and that thing ping after it. Idle and sit there and rattle, but just a nuisance in town. Like the townspeople will not miss that when I accelerate and decelerate heading in and out of town. So
I am gonna miss that though.
I know. There's a lot of people kind of gonna miss it, but yeah, it's just one of those pickups. Like you don't even have to see it to know what it is.
It sounded like a derby car on your derby car's best day.
Yeah, it did.
Like it was phenomenal.
Like you think I was eating up some road, and no, I was probably doing 35.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh man, good times. But yeah, so yeah, little black pickup was a Chevy S10, and it was probably about a 90. It was early 90s, maybe like a 92, and we were the second owner. Bought it with like super low miles, like I don't know, maybe around 10,000 miles, or maybe less than that. Bought it from a guy, and this will make sense, right? The guy was selling it because he bought it for his daughter when she went to college. She was going to college at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln is not a huge town when you compare it to somewhere like,
Boy, you calling it a town just seems like an offense to me.
Well, it's
a city.
It's a big town.
Yeah, I know. I heard people in college say it's a nice town, and I'm just like, boy, this seems like a large scale to me. I'm a little overwhelmed right now. You're here from Chicago and calling it a nice town.
Right.
Like a town's Gothenburg, 1,000, 2,000 people.
Right.
Like not that metropolis.
Right.
I can't even go into Omaha.
Yeah, it's easier to drive in Omaha though.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, the streets go where they're supposed to. Lincoln is a wreck.
No, they go all different directions. Lincoln's a grid.
But
then you get me started on College Station. They just are like, well, how about we just don't run anything east, west, north, south? Let's just run it all on an angle.
I don't okay. That angles, circles, boulevards, stuff that I'm sure it's all great if you know how to use it. Like if you know where Sun Valley Boulevard goes,
Oh, yeah.
you know, or whatever, or Cotner or any of them, like great. But if you don't,
Like, stay off them. Like, I just had to find
It's
the
ridiculous.
through streets, the straight through.
Yeah.
Like, I'm heading east. I will head east until I get out of Lincoln.
yeah, right.
That's O Street. 27th, I will go south until I'm out of Lincoln.
Right.
Or I go north till I'm out of Lincoln.
Yep.
It will not stop. It will not change.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly right. So, all right. So we got this, decent sized town, and when we were there, it was what, maybe 200,000, I think, when we were in college down there. So I don't know what it was in, but anyway. So girl's going to college. Dad buys her this pickup, 91, 92, 93-ish, somewhere in there, Chevy S10. Regular cab, manual locks, manual windows,
Oh, yeah.
no radio,
Oh.
no air conditioning,
Eh.
no power steering,
Oh. All right. I
Five-
didn't know they did that late.
5-speed manual, no power. I mean, like, I think that one had the 4-cylinder in it.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
and it did not have, like, so some of those S10s, because my wife's Uncle Rick had one that had some really cool rims on them, like those Chevy Blazer, Chevy S10,
Yeah.
kind of the spoke wheels.
Mm-hmm.
This had stamped steel wheel with that big old, like, baby moon hubcap.
Yep.
But it wasn't shiny chrome. It was flat black, looked like a dog
Oh.
bowl, had a Chevy bow tie in it.
Bummer.
Could not understand why his daughter didn't like driving it in Lincoln, right?
Yeah,
I'm like,
sure.
dude, if you're at a stop, even for an S10, it was hard to turn.
Yeah.
I mean, just no power steering.
On top of shifting gears every stoplight.
Every stoplight.
Yeah.
The only town in the world with more stoplights than Lincoln is Columbus.
Exactly.
Columbus, Nebraska is a miserable place to drive a semi through.
They don't even time them.
No. Oh, no.
No.
Not even a little. So, anyway, guy needed to get out of this pickup. I think they had put the aftermarket radio in. I don't think it was a Pioneer. It was something else. Had a tape deck in it. Garth Brooks came out with the Sevens album,
Mm.
and that stupid tape deck ate that album.
Oh.
So I'm still kind of irritated about
Yeah.
that. But so Dad got a good deal on it, bought that thing, and it got good fuel mileage. It was a good parts runner. Like if he needed to run and grab, chain, sprocket, bearings, stuff like that.
Yep.
You didn't have to take big 3/4 ton pickup. You weren't getting mom's car dirty. Like it was good for that. But honestly, it was one of the nicest vehicles we had. Like it low mile, nice paint, nice, so we drove it quite a few places as a family. And I think statute of limitations has went away. And so it's probably okay. But Dad would drive and I would sit in the middle and I'd hold my sister on my lap.
Yep.
And then my mom would sit passenger with my brother on her lap.
Yeah.
Like we'd ride 5 wide in the cab of this S10. And like at some point Dad would be like, put her in third, 'cause,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the one sitting where the shifter
That's
is.
exactly how our family was. I mean, you talk about change. Single cab pickups.
Right?
Like they were the standard, and extra doors were kind of the more rare thing.
Yeah.
Now it's, complete opposite.
Yeah, I don't even-
You have guys at older generations like, oh, I can't find a single cab anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why would you want to?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Where do
Yeah.
you keep all your sweatshirts?
right. That's so. A family of 5 of us would fit in a single cab,
Yep.
and you make sure your knees out of the way when
Yo,
Dad
yeah.
gets fourth.
Yo, yeah.
Yeah. And we had a 64 Ford. We called it Old Tan. Towards
Right?
the end of its life, the transmission started to go out.
Yeah.
So when we raced the pickup, you usually raced to be, depending what we were doing, either at the door, so you had the window, but if we're checking cows, not the door because you had to get the gate.
Right.
Um,
Real
So-
cowboy sits in the middle.
that's exactly right. So, but then you wanted to avoid that spot because your job, if you were in the middle of the 3 boys, is when it went into fourth, you had to get up and sit on the shifter.
Right. Hold it in fourth.
Yeah. It was a 4-speed, so when we hit the top gear, you had to get up, sit down on the shifter, and hold it there.
Because nothing says safety like leaning
Yeah,
on
right.
the dash at 60 mile an hour, holding it in fourth gear.
There's not like a seat on there. You're sitting on a 1/2 inch of rod, and you better hope it's not a long trip. That thing, there's so much slack in those old transmissions
yeah.
that you'd sway back and
No,
forth,
yeah.
going
Right.
around curves. And
Oh man, yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Brief timeout. We've got some Black Rifle coffee. We got to reload coffee cups here because
well, really, if you're drinking anything besides Black Rifle coffee, you're really just drinking warm colored water. And they don't pay us to say that. We just really believe it.
We're just kind of open.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to throw money at us, we'd take it. and really, we can be bought.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's not like I ain't selling out. I ain't gonna sell out. Like,
No.
I'll tell you what you need to hear for a little money.
Hey, pride's a sin, right?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, no pride here. Go ahead and shoot us some money. But anyway, Black Rifle Coffee. In all seriousness, they are not paying us to say this. We really do enjoy their product. It is quality.
And I mean,
coffee.
they do good thing for veterans.
They
And
do,
stuff, so.
and that's great. You know, veteran owned, veteran
Yep.
employed, and those folks are, okay. So you get paid $1 billion to throw a ball around a park. I get that you have a skill the rest of us don't, but just soapbox for a minute. But your veterans those are the heroes. Those are the
Yeah.
guys that we need to be.
Absolutely.
Guys and gals.
Yep.
That we need to be. We ought to ask them for autographs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so appreciate what they do. All right.
So yeah, you want to do a quick game of yep or nope?
Yep or nope? All right. I'm down for some. Say, how do I answer that? You want yep or nope? Yep.
So all right, how about over the calf socks?
Nope.
Okay.
Not even. Sorry, I can't explain my answer.
Yeah, we'll go to the end and we'll revisit
Nope.
that.
Big nope.
Big nope. Okay. You have ibuprofen in every vehicle.
Yep.
You have watched a cartoon you enjoyed as a kid and realized how much dark humor is in it.
Yep. Yep.
You no longer string out your string cheese. You just bite the hunks out of it.
Yep. Nobody's got time for string cheese.
All right, so that's yep or nope.
Yep or nope.
So yeah, first one I knew. I was baiting you with that one. I'm a big over the calf sock guy,
Yeah.
and so I wear boots and just kind of it contains the chiggers a little more,
It does.
but keeps from rubbing. I don't know. Always liked them, but I'm curious to hear why you're against them.
Because they're silly.
They're silly.
That-
I'm a silly guy.
Yeah, we've had this conversation, right? I wear the ankle socks with everything.
With boots and all.
Tennis shoes, work boots, cowboy boots, don't matter. That's what I've got on. Muck boots, doesn't matter. Ankle
Yeah.
socks. Honestly, because they don't fit my calves very well. And so I either feel like I get them tight enough to stay up and I feel like they're squeezing me. Or if I get a little bigger ones, then I feel like they slide down.
Well, if they're
And so
squeezing you, that's how you know they're working.
I just, the day is coming where I probably have to wear those socks that keep the blood squeezed up out of your lower extremities or whatever. But no, it's ankle sock for life.
All right. I was
So.
trying to think what other one I disagreed with, but maybe the string cheese one. But I am that guy that knows certain people who eat a Hershey bar and they've got to break off every nib nice
No.
and eat it that way.
Ain't nobody got time for
And
that.
Kit Kats, you got to break it off bar by bar.
Yeah, I do that.
Pull and peel, they got to string that thing out.
Yes.
And just to bother them, I just like to take a nice bite across those nibs on a Hershey's bar, right across the Kit Kat, eat a pull and peel straight from the end, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It just brings me joy to be a pain sometimes.
Yep.
I don't know. That's-
Do you remember Fruit by the Foot?
yeah.
You had to take that out of the package because they laid it on that paper, on that like
Yeah.
contact paper looking or whatever.
But how about, I'm trying to think, is that the long string one or
Yep.
is that the mat?
That's the long string one.
Have you ever unrolled the whole thing, then wadded it up and taken
Absolutely.
bites out of it? Yeah.
Although I can't stand to wad it up, so I will unroll it, peel the paper off, roll it back up like it was,
Okay.
and then
And then pop it. And I remember that.
too much
was-
anarchy involved in just a wad.
Or like eating like a long spaghetti noodle, like you just kind of kept
Oh,
eating
yeah.
it in your mouth and in, see if you could fit the whole thing in
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Amazing we didn't choke.
Maybe we did
Oh, probably.
once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
good for us.
it is. Yeah. I don't know. I was just thinking. You were talking about eating candy and stuff, and I do not have a tremendous sweet tooth, although I do a little.
It's decreasing with age.
I lean so desserts, absolutely.
Mm.
Like candy, not as big a fan. But
Yeah.
Reese's peanut butter cups,
Mm.
oh brother.
Fast breaks.
Nope, just peanut butter cup.
No.
That's
fast brakes?
No, I don't.
Okay, well,
Those are-
maybe you misheard me there.
No.
Those are amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Like hot garbage is amazing. They are no good for anything. Here's why,
It's
right?
just-
They taste like those.
Could have said I don't prefer them.
They are, you remember the wafer stuff? Like at some age, you reach an age where buying like these Neapolitan, like the
Yeah,
vanilla, the
yeah.
pink, the chocolate, and they taste like insulation.
Yeah, they do.
And a Reese's Fast Break does not taste that way, but the consistency of it reminds me.
I think you're
of
thinking
that.
Reese's Sticks.
Well, maybe I am. What's a Fast Break?
A fast break it comes like a candy bar shape. It's got peanut butter, nougat covered in chocolate.
Mm.
So it's kind of like a Snickers without the caramel and peanuts, but just more peanut butter and kind of that nougat on the
Well,
bottom.
maybe I will have to try that because maybe it is the Reese's Sticks.
The Reese's Sticks are the wafers that are
No, I
kind of
can't.
covered.
Oh, I hate those. Like Nutter Butters?
Yeah.
Ah, yuck. Like that is the most terrible thing ever. Throw them in the weeds. Seriously, if somebody packs that for you in your lunchbox, they don't love you. Like they're like that's miserable. That is miserable. But dessert, oh yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of depends for me.
Yeah. I am all in. I am all in on dessert. I don't know. It's
Dessert with coffee, that's where it's at.
Oh, it is.
The bitter and the sweet contrast.
Yeah. Like you get like a donut is pretty
Oh.
good, but a donut with a cup of coffee
Man.
is fantastic.
Oh man, confounder on donuts.
Have. So yeah, for
Just
sure.
go take a scoop of bicarb out and
Yeah.
just head out.
Yeah, a little pinch of that in your
Yeah.
cheek and away you go.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Special thank you to Molly for bringing us donuts actually.
Yes.
Or I don't know if you got any out of that.
I did, but then I went to the hospital and they all got it before I got home.
You'll have that.
So, but yeah, they're kind
Let that
of
be a lesson to you for the future.
handmade donuts. Like these are not donut chain donuts. There's a outfit in Lexington, which is about 20 miles from here.
Best donuts ever.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lady makes phenomenal donuts.
Yeah.
And she's
Just
got
hand me a paper towel to clean up her drool over here.
Oh, she has got a red frosting that is, I think, kind of loosely cherry based. Oh, phenomenal! I
It's
opened that
just-
box of donuts. Molly had like 3 of those in there, and I'm like,
I'm not even a blueberry guy, but she throws a blueberry donut when I just get a dozen.
oh,
I'm even down for
absolutely.
that. I mean, it's still good.
absolutely. However, and I don't know what anybody else out here we call them long johns, right?
Yeah.
Like the long. I don't know if other people have different weird names for them, but
Sure.
When that lady puts cream filling in those, she fills them now.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing weighs 5 pounds when she hands it to you.
Yep.
Like it comes with that and a side of diabetes in the
I was
back.
gonna say, yeah, when you eat that, you hear that guy that did those diabetes commercials.
Yeah,
Back in the day.
diabetes.
Yep.
And you have got to have a cup of coffee to
you
wash
have
that
to.
down.
I mean, it is so sweet.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so people call things weird things, right? So you're driving down County Road.
Yep.
And there is a strip of grass that is usually like somewhat of a depression, and then there's the field.
Yep.
What do you call that strip of grass?
A ditch.
Just a ditch?
Just a ditch.
Not like road ditch,
No.
not bar pit.
I mean, road ditch is implied. You're on the road.
Agreed. Where I grew up, that was a grader ditch. And I came out here and said grader ditch one time. Shout out to Eastern Nebraska friends and family that know. But like I came out here and was like, yeah, when about guy, whatever, pulled out in front of me, about ran off in the grader ditch. And somebody's like, what? And I'm like, the grader ditch. And they're like, what is
What's
wrong
that?
with you?
Because the road grader doesn't drive in the ditch. Like maybe once a year, once every 5 years,
Right.
he ventures off in there to kind of clean it
And
out.
that's
But-
just to pull all the brome back up and pile it in the middle of the
yeah,
road.
make the road rougher. But yeah, I'm just like, I mean, why a grader? Why is it a grader ditch?
I don't know,
the
man.
grader don't go down in there.
It was-
He ate his ditch.
It was a great. And okay, so now if one was in a 4-wheeled passenger vehicle with probably like a box on it, something you oftentimes pull the horse trailer with,
Mm-hmm.
that is a
Pickup,
right.
right?
But where I grew up, that was a truck.
That's kind of Molly had that. That's kind of one of those things I couldn't compromise on.
I have been out here so long, and might I add, got made fun of so
Yeah, oh yeah.
mercilessly.
Yeah.
When I first moved out here, like I had to change my ways.
Yeah.
But I will still talk to my brother, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just hopped in the truck and headed to Walmart, or whatever." I'm like, "Why are you taking the semi into Walmart?"
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
like,
I think
he's like,
part
"I'm
of
taking
it-
my Dodge."
And I'm not surprised this doesn't occur elsewhere. My issue is, you grew up with the straight box grain trucks.
Yes.
There were some semi trucks,
Right.
and then you had your pickups.
Yep.
There's just too many vehicles on the farm that truck could apply to. Why are we throwing pickups into that combination?
Absolutely.
So that's what I mean.
That is one I have made the shift wholeheartedly. I am a diehard. It is a pickup. It is not a truck.
And I think that is just a marketing thing, like make you sound tougher than you are.
Ram trucks.
Yeah, them city guys can go get themselves a truck.
A truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ride around in their truck with their man bun.
No, it's hard for me to say.
I can't do it.
Context.
And what is funny is growing up, and here's where we really branched out and got like super, what do you want to say? Creative, right? So the car was the car. That's another thing that irritates me. Shout out to my mother-in-law if she's listening. Calls everything a car. Oh, I got to get in the car. I'm like, that's a Suburban.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a car.
Right.
Anyway, doesn't matter. But we had our car, and then we had our truck, and then the thing that we hauled corn to town with, that was a big truck.
Okay.
Literally.
Big truck.
Big truck.
Okay.
Kind of like that one joke where the gal calls the fire department and they're like, "Yeah, we'll be right there. How do we get there?" And she's like, "Big red truck." And, right? But that was a big truck. I don't think I call anything a truck hardly anymore because I still call a semi.
Yeah, I do too.
The only thing, like twin screws, like tandem axle straight trucks, are about or a single axle, but
yeah,
like we have a delivery truck.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will still refer to that as a truck, Cody's truck, box truck,
kind of a medium duty.
But if I'm talking about the semi, I say semi anyway.
Right.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
That's the thing. I mean, yeah, the grain trucks are obsolete, but you got a lot more medium duty trucks that are still trucks, and semis are technically semi tractors. But you can see on a farm how that gets confusing. You've got your tractor. So if you're calling your truck that's technically a tractor and also got tractors, I mean, it's hard enough to keep the tractors apart.
Can you imagine having a truck, a tractor, and a truck tractor? That's ridiculous.
Boy.
That's what they do in Iowa.
Yeah.
I don't understand why is a semi, like a semicircle is part of a circle. Why is a semi truck? But that's a whole truck and then some.
Yeah, my theory is it started off as a semi tractor. Like you kind of had your tractors were your big motored, high torque working things, and they came out with this truck with an engine similar to a tractor, but I don't know if they call them the semi tractor because they're kind of half of a row crop tractor, and then now they're kind of surpassed horsepowers on all the farming tractors now. But yeah, I've always kind of wondered that. That's the best theory I could come up with.
I'll give you partial credit for that answer.
Okay, all right.
Talking about trucks, though. One of the big trucks we had, and it was the one that I guess I drove them both a little bit. But when I was young, we had grain trucks, single axle, like 14-foot box,
like 4+2.
Yes.
Yep.
And we had one. It was a Ford that had been a co-op line spreader truck, and so they'd re-geared the rear end like super low, and that thing screaming wide open in high gear would get you about 50.
Oh yeah,
about
those
50.
Things never work that fast.
Maybe a little more, but I doubt it. Now we didn't even use the low side. That was a 5 and 2.
Okay.
We didn't even need the 2. It was locked out in the high side.
No kidding.
You could start first gear fully loaded, no throttle. Just roll your foot off it.
Wow.
Away you went. Had a Holley double pumper on it, and like a 491, I think, was Ford's truck motor. But anyway, Grandpa used to drive that one quite a bit. And then Dad had a International, and I cannot remember what year. I have no idea what year it was. It was a red International truck. It was old enough. It had the split hood that opened from the side.
Oh yeah.
I would love to have that thing back.
Oh yeah.
I could not tell you what was in it for a motor. I think it was a 4 and 2. Had a small box, like maybe a 12-foot box, and we used that. I remember using that for quite a while, just as a real little kid. And at some point, we took the box off and we built our own flatbed for it, and put a gooseneck, like a fifth wheel hitch on it. And do you remember Hillsboro built those grain trailers? So it was a triple axle gooseneck grain trailer.
Okay, yeah.
Had a 16-foot box. They were
Yeah.
kind of short sides, but you could get like 300 bushel or
Okay.
so on them. And so we built our own flatbed. We pulled that trailer with that truck. And being it had, all the whole setup for the box and hoist, we put a hydraulic outlet on it. You could run the trailer dump from in the truck, and thought that was fantastic. The problem is they sort of built those trailers to be pickup friendly.
Okay.
They were almost completely balanced.
Okay.
There
Yeah.
was hardly any weight
on the rear axle
on the truck.
Yeah.
And so that actually did not work that great. I think we used it a few years that way, maybe. And then we kind of went away from that. Kept the trailer, used it, took the sides off, used it to haul hay a lot. But anyway, at some point then, and I think maybe it's when he got rid of that, or maybe a couple of years later, but we bought a cab over International propane burner.
Ooh.
And it was not really baby blue, but it wasn't super dark blue either.
That get fumey in the cab?
It'd get hot in the cab, and I got to drive that. Dad would drive it when we weren't during harvest. I would drive it a little during harvest. Had a hydraulic clutch on it that was super slow to react.
Okay.
So you had time to push the clutch in and shift, and then you just dumped your foot off of it, because it was like a 10 or 15 second delay as it.
Wow.
You wanted to be scooting before you did a lot of shifting.
Huh.
But we ran that for a lot of years, that old truck. And yeah, I was not super sad when he traded that. Then we finally got like maybe a C60 Chevy.
Yeah.
And
I
kind
was
of
just going to say, growing up, we had everybody had a C60.
Oh yeah,
At least one. Just tons of C60s out there.
bunch.
So, between relatives and stuff we harvested together with, probably had 3 C60s and always another random truck here and there. I just remember kind of the big truck in that day as far as straight box truck were the GMC Brigadiers with the two-stroke Detroits in them.
Yes.
Oh man, the sound those things make up and down the road they're phenomenal.
Yes. And that sounds like he's hauling 1,000 bushel.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just coming back to the field empty, but it sounds like.
Oh my goodness. I got to drive one of those for a silage truck recently.
Oh, yeah.
I never got to drive that one. Unfortunately, got electrical fire and burned up. That was kind of our big grain truck. And so, but I got to drive one on the silage crew.
That was a big truck, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big truck. So it was kind of the backup truck on the silage crew. And like the more RPMs you get, the better the power steering works. And the guy that owns the silage crew kind of told me, he was just like, so how you drive this thing is you push it until you think the motor's going to blow up, and then you go a little more, and then you shift.
Right. Right.
And I've heard people, those Detroits, is like, yeah, first thing you got to do is slam your hand in the door, and then you get in. And
Yeah.
so,
That way you're good and mad.
You're used to driving Caterpillars and stuff. Now that you're kind of like, keep the RPMs low,
Oh, yeah.
let the low end torque do the work, and this thing is just let her scream.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I did enjoy it.
Yep. That is. Did you have Mac cutting silage for
Yes.
you? Yeah. Yeah. He's a good dude.
Yeah, Mac is a good dude.
Yep. He cut some silage for us one year too. And Mac, if you're listening by chance, we never invited you back. It had nothing to do with your quality of work. Just when you make silage, then you have to feed silage. And it wasn't the best situation for our operation. Has nothing to do with the job he did. Phenomenal guy, phenomenal crew.
And if I remember right, that was a rainy spring. It was kind of more of a just need to get it off the ground.
Yeah. We basically basically the same situation we're dealing with now.
Sure.
We put it down and it just kept raining and raining, but it was super heavy and we had to do something. So yeah, they come chop it. But yeah, that an old Brigadier silage truck, man. That's a hard unit to beat there.
Yeah, turned wider than a semi with a 42-foot
Right.
trailer on.
Right.
No reason for that. But
Can't turn it back into 24 rows.
No. The amount of headland it takes to get that thing spun around is just. But yeah, what's the point even having a CB radio in there? You're not going to hear anybody.
Yeah. It's just hand signals.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is for sure. Yeah. Yes, that is absolutely for sure. So, well, I don't know, man. We're going on over an hour now, and I guess I had more on my paper to talk about, but maybe we ought to pull up to the end and let them out on this one. Huh?
Okay, yeah. Don't expect people to hang around much longer.
No. Once again, just encourage you, if you have made it this long, drop us a note. Please let us know what you want to hear about, right? we are open to suggestions. We are brand new at this, so
Yeah.
we don't know if you want to hear us babble on about the old days or about current days, or if you want some structure, or really even if you made it this long.
Yeah. And I would just want to throw a huge shout out to Savannah she's the one that handles the social media, and I mean, just knocking it out of the park. She makes us look really professional.
She easily has the toughest job.
Oh yeah, definitely the most valuable member of this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep, for sure. So, well, I guess we pretty well covered it all, because we started talking about, I don't even know where we started, Summer Olympics and going back to school, and ended up with two-stroke Detroits and silage trucks. So.
That's a good day.
All right. Well, it is Thursday evening here, whatever time it is, wherever you are at. We appreciate you riding along with us. As a friendly reminder, camp in the woods, not in the left lane. And we will see you guys back here for the next one. Thanks, guys.